This is your CEO assessment tip. Today we're talking about identity. The first reason somebody joins your group or starts following you or joins your organization is an expression of identity. They're saying the person I dream of becoming, the person I envision myself becoming, I'm going to become that person by joining your group, by following you, by joining your organization. One of the paradoxes of human existence is that we define our individuality by the groups that we belong to. This really becomes one of your core tenets of how you can attract talent by your corporate identity, by the identity of your organization, and what does it mean to work for that company. At the same token, when people quit or you fire people, that's also an expression of identity where the staff member is saying, the values you espouse, the direction you're going does not resonate with me. It's not who I am. It's not who I want to become. So I have to leave. Those are two core points to keep in mind. The third one is when you look at peak performance, that is also a tenet or an expression of identity. So you look at the famous movie 300 when the protagonist kicks the antagonist and says, "This is Sparta." That is identity and action actually becoming one, where they're saying this identity of the Spartan warrior is so strong that we will stand up against an army of 10,000 because that is who we are. That is our creed. That is our identity. That is our history. That is our tradition. That is who we are. This is what we do. And that is at the crux of peak performance. So when you're assessing a CEO and we don't test or we don't have identity as one of our central themes, we're losing one of the key levers for attracting top talent, for driving top talent, for motivating top talent, for igniting it, for driving peak performance in an organization. So it is fundamental to organizational performance. So how do we test for it? Number one, which may seem a bit weird to ask, would you encourage your kids to follow in your footsteps or to follow in your profession? Someone who has a huge value for what they do and feels like it's a huge gift to society, they will encourage their children to follow in their path. So you look at, for example, the current Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. He was following the footsteps of his father, who was also Prime Minister. Or you look at George Bush Jr., who was following the footsteps of George Bush Sr. When you look at the Rothschilds banking dynasty, the father also felt that, hey, this is a great profession. He encouraged his kids and he had a vision of multi-generational success in the banking sector, which he then created. The next thing you want to ask is, what value does your profession have for society? This may seem like a more esoteric discussion, but when I'm dealing with, for example, a media CEO, he will tell me, Shane, media is the fourth estate of society. This job is so important of us to bring a voice to the voiceless, a face to the faceless, to go into conflict zones and show the world what's happening. We've lost 18 people in the last several years doing this job. It's so important. It's worth dying for. That is a huge value to society. What is the value of your profession? If your CEO doesn't see a great value of the profession, you will not be able to cascade that through the organization. Your staff won't feel value for a profession. They won't have a value for your company. They won't have a value for your organization. And of course, you run into several other issues. And the third question, simple question, common question is, who will you be in 10 years from now? Who do you want to become? Somebody who doesn't have a strong sense of identity will start to tell you what they can do. That's not the answer we want to look for. We want to look for someone who really says, hey, you know, I really believe in one of the core focuses of banking is helping the working class people have access to working capital, have access to debt, have the ability to own a home, have the ability to own the land that you toil on. This is really one of the bedrocks of society and fundamental drivers of the banking system is to help enable and emancipate the underclasses, the lower classes, the low income groups. That's one of the things I love about my job. Whatever it is, you want to see that kind of becoming. This is who I am, this is who I want to become, and it really fits in terms of my personal identity and my professional identity are one. Those are a few questions you can use to catch a CEO off balance. If you like those, you could pick up our book, CEO Assessment and Selection, which has over 400 questions that you can use in your CEO interviews. Also, on our book page, you can download a free sample of the book, and you can get a link to our book page in the description of this video.